The barracks at Fort Bragg buzzed with the low hum of conversation, the clatter of boots, and the occasional sharp bark of an order. Private Emily Carter sat on the edge of her narrow cot, eyes fixed on the worn floorboards, as a group of soldiers gathered nearby, their voices laced with derision. She was the only woman in her unit, a fact that seemed less a badge of honor, and more a target for relentless mockery. "Hey, Carter," sneered Corporal Jenkins, a burly man with a perpetual scowl etched across his face. "Still trying to keep up with us, or should we slow down the pace?" Emily's jaw tightened, but she didn't respond. She had learned early on that silence was sometimes the best shield. Around her, laughter rippled through the group, a chorus of skepticism and scorn. They saw her as weak, as an anomaly in the hardened world of infantry. Their jokes weren't subtle, whispered comments about her being out of place, snide remarks about how she must have gotten in on some fluke. But Emily bore it all with a quiet dignity, the weight of their dismissals pressing down like a physical force. Beneath the fabric of her uniform, hidden from prying eyes, a small medal was clipped to the inside of her jacket, a token of recognition few knew about. It wasn't the kind that adorned chests in parades or ceremonies, it was discreet, almost secretive. A silent testament to bravery earned far from the barracks confines. The knowledge of it steadied her, a private anchor in the storm of skepticism. The group's taunts intensified as evening fell, the barracks dimming under the harsh glare of fluorescent lights. Private Sanders, usually quieter than the rest, leaned in with a mocking grin. "Tell us again, Carter, how did you even make it through basic? Bet you got a little help, huh?" A ripple of laughter followed, but Emily's eyes didn't waver. She had heard it all before, the insinuations, the doubts. But she had come too far to be undone by words. Her mind drifted briefly to the months behind her, months marked by sweat, pain, and relentless training. Every early morning run, every grueling obstacle course completed alone, every moment spent pushing past exhaustion, had built her into someone they hadn't expected. The barracks felt smaller than ever tonight, the walls closing in as the voices grew louder. A few of the men elbowed each other, daring someone to step up and break her down. But despite the mounting pressure, Emily remained composed, her hands folded neatly in her lap. She didn't need to respond to their provocation, her resolve spoke louder than any retort. "Quiet down, guys," Jenkins barked suddenly, his tone sharp. "No use wasting breath on someone who doesn't belong here." The words stung, but Emily let them wash over her. In a world that prized strength and toughness, her presence was an anomaly that unsettled many. Yet beneath the surface, a quiet strength simmered, forged in the crucible of hardship and perseverance. As the men's voices faded into a low murmur, Emily's thoughts turned inward. She pictured the medal, the cold metal pressed against her skin, a reminder of a mission few knew about. It was awarded for courage, for actions taken in the shadows of war that never made headlines. That hidden honor was a secret, proof that she was more than the sum of their doubts. Outside the barracks, the night air was cool and still. The distant sounds of vehicles and distant chatter from other units filtered through the thin walls. Emily sat motionless, the weight of the day settling around her like a heavy cloak. She knew tomorrow would bring more challenges, more sneers, more tests of her resolve. But for now, she allowed herself a moment of quiet pride. The medal beneath her uniform was more than a piece of metal, it was a silent declaration of her worth, a testament to the courage she carried inside. And she would need every ounce of that strength to survive the days ahead, in a world that wasn't ready to accept her. The morning sun spilled through the narrow window of the barracks, casting long shadows across the worn wooden floor. Emily Carter sat on the edge of her cot, lacing her boots methodically, her mind drifting back to the path that had brought her here, a journey marked by quiet determination and a relentless refusal to be defined by circumstance. She had grown up in a military family, the daughter of a decorated sergeant who had served for over 20 years. From an early age, Emily was no stranger to the rigid discipline and unspoken codes that governed their lives. Her childhood was punctuated by the steady march of boots on gravel, the rhythmic cadence of drill commands, and the steady glow of a flag raised at dawn. Her father's stories, sometimes whispered, sometimes shouted across the dinner table, painted a world of sacrifice, honor, and toughness. But it was not those stories alone that shaped her. It was the example set by her mother, a nurse who worked tirelessly to care for wounded soldiers returning from distant battlefields. Their combined influence instilled in Emily a fierce sense of duty and an ironclad resolve to carve her own path, no matter the obstacles. Her decision to enlist had been met with mixed reactions. Some questioned whether she could withstand the rigors of training, others doubted her ability to lead in a world dominated by men. But Emily had never wavered. She approached basic training with the quiet focus of someone who knew the stakes, who understood that every step forward was a battle against both external challenges and internal doubts. The early days at basic were brutal. The days began before dawn, with cold, biting winds that sliced through even the thickest uniform layers. Physical drills pushed her body to the edge of exhaustion. The obstacle course mocked her with its towering walls and treacherous ropes. Yet, Emily endured. She rose early, stayed late, and trained harder than anyone expected. Her instructors noticed. Sergeant Ramirez, a grizzled veteran with a hawk-like gaze, observed her progress closely. Unlike some of the others, he saw beyond her gender and recognized the steel beneath her calm exterior. During one particularly grueling endurance test, when others faltered, Emily pressed on, her breathing steady, her pace unyielding. Ramirez nodded once, a rare gesture of approval. Still, the whispers in the barracks never ceased. Fellow recruits questioned her motives, speculated about her capabilities. Some openly challenged her during drills, others resorted to subtle sabotage, misplaced equipment, delayed messages. Emily learned to navigate the minefield of doubt with grace, maintaining a calm demeanor that both frustrated and confused her detractors. She found solace in the silence of early mornings, when the world was still asleep, and the only sounds were her steady breaths and the rhythmic pounding of her boots against the track. It was in those moments, alone in the stillness, that her true strength shone. She studied the manual by flashlight, memorized tactical maneuvers, and visualized scenarios her instructors described. Knowledge became her weapon, discipline her armor. Her fellow recruits began to notice. Not all with admiration, some with suspicion. But Emily's subtle talents slowly emerged. During marksmanship training, her steady hands and sharp eyes earned her scores that rivaled the best marksmen in the unit. In classroom sessions, she absorbed lessons with a hunger that surprised even the instructors. Her leadership potential began to surface during team exercises, where her ability to stay calm under pressure made her a natural point of focus. Despite these gains, Emily remained an outsider. She was often the last to be chosen for squads, the subject of hushed conversations when she wasn't around. Yet, she never complained. She understood that acceptance here was earned, not given. Her closest confidant became Corporal Diaz, a seasoned soldier, who had seen the worst of war and the best in people. Diaz respected Emily's tenacity and often offered quiet encouragement. "You've got what it takes," he told her during a rare moment of downtime. "Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." Emily's thoughts drifted back to that moment, the weight of Diaz's words settling over her like a shield. She had come to see training not just as a test of physical endurance, but as a crucible for character. The challenges she faced were as much about mental resilience as they were about strength or skill. Still, the path was far from easy. Each day brought new obstacles, both tangible and invisible. The constant scrutiny, the underlying tension, the silent expectations to prove herself over and over again, it wore on her. But Emily had learned to channel those pressures into fuel, pushing herself harder, digging deeper. One evening, after a particularly intense day of drills, Emily found herself alone in the barracks, the hum of distant voices fading into the background. She pulled the small medal from beneath her uniform, turning it over in her hands. It was a quiet symbol of a mission she had undertaken quietly, a mission that few knew about, but that had changed her irrevocably. The memory of that operation, of the risks taken and lives saved, was a wellspring of strength. Her mind flicked to her father's voice, steady and firm despite the years. "In this life, you earn your place every day," he had told her once. "It's not about proving others wrong. It's about proving to yourself that you belong." Those words echoed now, steady and unwavering. Emily folded the medal carefully and tucked it back beneath her uniform, a secret talisman of courage and perseverance. As the moon rose outside, casting silver light through the window, Emily sat quietly, the soft rustle of the barracks around her. She knew the road ahead would be long, marked by trials and tests that would push her to the edge. But she also knew that she was no longer the uncertain recruit who had arrived months before. She was becoming something stronger, a soldier, a leader, a force to be reckoned with. And in the silence of that night, the quiet flame of her determination burned brighter than ever. The barracks at Fort Bragg had shifted from a background murmur to a low roar of whispered rumors and pointed glances. Private Emily Carter had become the center of an unspoken tension that seemed to thicken the air. The initial skepticism had evolved into something sharper: exclusion, practical jokes, and a quiet isolation that gnawed at her edges. It began with small things. A water bottle slipped just out of reach during morning drills, a misplaced helmet during gear inspections, subtle sabotages that could be brushed off if they were accidental. But the pattern was unmistakable. Emily noticed the way conversations would hush the moment she approached, the way teammates exchanged looks over her shoulder. One afternoon, during a group exercise in the dense woods that bordered the base, the isolation became palpable. The squad was ordered to navigate a challenging course, relying on teamwork and communication. Emily moved with purpose, scanning the terrain, calculating angles, and calling out potential hazards. But when it came time to split into pairs, she found herself paired last, the hesitation in her partner's eyes unmistakable. "Just follow my lead," muttered Private Reynolds, barely concealing his reluctance. Emily nodded, masking the disappointment that flickered beneath her calm exterior. The path was treacherous, twisting roots, slick mud, and low-hanging branches, but she pressed forward, steady and sure. Despite her partner's reluctance, she kept a steady pace, offering concise directions and warnings. As they reached the end of the course, Reynolds shot a sideways glance. "Not bad," he grunted begrudgingly. "Guess you know what you're doing." It was a small victory, but one that resonated deeply. Yet back at the barracks, the undercurrent of exclusion persisted. Invitations to group meals or off-duty gatherings never came, and she often found herself eating alone, the empty bunk beside her a stark reminder of isolation. The whispers took on a sharper edge. "She's only here because of her family," some said. "Doesn't belong with us." Others questioned whether she could handle the pressure of real combat situations. The words stung, but Emily refused to let them break her. Instead, she doubled down on her training. During physical drills, she pushed herself harder, often staying behind after others had left. Her performance in obstacle courses improved steadily, her endurance and agility catching the attention of instructors. Yet the men around her grew uneasy, their dismissive smirks replaced by guarded glances. In moments alone, Emily allowed herself a flicker of vulnerability, brief flashes of doubt that threatened to erode her resolve. Was she truly earning her place, or was she simply enduring? But those moments passed quickly, replaced by a steady flame of determination. Her resilience began to unsettle some soldiers, particularly those who had once mocked her openly. Private Mason, known for his sharp tongue and quick temper, found his barbs met with silence that only seemed to frustrate him further. During a particularly grueling endurance run, Mason attempted to trip Emily, but she anticipated the move, steadying herself and pressing ahead, leaving him behind. The dynamic within the unit shifted subtly. Some soldiers began to watch her with a mixture of respect and wariness, while others tightened their circle, wary of the unexpected challenge she represented. One evening, after a long day of drills, Emily sat alone on the steps outside the barracks. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow that softened the harsh lines of the training grounds. Sergeant Ramirez approached quietly, his presence steady and reassuring. "You handling the heat all right?" he asked, settling beside her. Emily nodded, her voice steady. "It's been challenging." Ramirez studied her for a moment. "I've seen worse. You've got grit, Carter. Don't let them get to you." She appreciated his words, knowing they carried more weight than any casual encouragement. Ramirez was a man who valued strength and character, and his recognition was a quiet endorsement. Days later, during a tactical exercise designed to simulate urban combat scenarios, Emily's calm under pressure began to turn heads. The squad was tasked with clearing a building, moving through tight corridors, and coordinating movements under the watchful eyes of instructors. Emily took point, her senses sharp, her commands clear and concise. When an unexpected obstacle arose, a simulated explosive device blocking an exit, she remained composed, quickly devising an alternate route and communicating the plan to her team. The instructors nodded approvingly, noting her ability to adapt under pressure. Her teammates, some of whom had been openly hostile, began to reconsider their stance. The whispered doubts started to fade, replaced by reluctant acknowledgement of her capabilities. Yet, the journey toward full acceptance was far from over. That night, as the barracks settled into a tentative quiet, Emily reflected on the slow transformation unfolding around her. The harassment had not ceased entirely, but it had shifted in tone, less overt, more cautious. Her silent resilience was beginning to crack the walls built by prejudice and doubt. Still, she remained vigilant. Each day was a test, not just of skill, but of endurance against the invisible forces that sought to undermine her. Her resolve was a shield forged in the crucible of isolation, sharpened by the steady beat of purpose. The road ahead promised more challenges, both from the external trials of training and the internal battle to claim her place. But Emily Carter was no longer the newcomer met with scorn. She was becoming a soldier recognized not for the doubts cast upon her but for the quiet strength she wielded in their midst. The sun hung low over the dense pine forest surrounding Fort Bragg, casting long shadows that stretched across the muddy training grounds. The unit was deep into a grueling field exercise, a simulated ambush designed to test their ability to react under extreme pressure. The air was thick with tension, the crackling of radios interrupted only by distant shouts and the sharp commands of instructors. Private Emily Carter crouched behind a fallen log, her breath steady despite the pounding of her heart. She scanned the perimeter, eyes sharp for any sign of movement. The squad was scattered, each member tasked with securing their sector, but the simulated attack had caught them off guard. The sudden burst of gunfire, the roar of explosions, and the chaotic scramble to regroup had thrown even the most seasoned soldiers into disarray. Emily's mind raced as she took stock of the situation. Sergeant Ramirez's voice crackled over the radio, urgent but calm, "Form up on my position. We're taking casualties. Need a plan, now." The squad's radio operator, Private Mason, was down, clutching his arm where a simulated bullet wound bled through the fabric of his uniform. Panic flickered in the eyes of some team members, but Emily forced herself to stay grounded. She had trained for moments like this, where chaos threatened to unravel everything, and quick thinking meant survival. Crawling forward, Emily reached Mason's side. "Stay with me," she said firmly, applying pressure to the wound with a field dressing. Her hands moved with practiced efficiency, steady and sure. Nearby, the rest of the squad was struggling to coordinate, their voices overlapping in confusion. Emily took a deep breath and radioed in, "We need to establish a perimeter and extract the wounded. I am taking point on clearing a path." Sergeant Ramirez's voice came back, approving but cautious, Copy that, Carter. Lead the way. With that, Emily signaled to the team, her voice cutting through the noise. Follow me, keep low, and watch your six. The squad moved in tight formation, trusting her guidance. Emily's calm under fire was a beacon, steadying nerves and focusing energy. She navigated the uneven terrain with precision, identifying cover and directing fire as the simulated enemy pressed closer. Private Reynolds, who had been skeptical of her from the start, found himself falling into step beside her. "You've got nerves of steel," he muttered, a grudging respect in his tone. Emily allowed herself a brief nod but didn't slow. Their goal was clear: reach the extraction point before the enemy could flank them. As they advanced, Emily spotted a cluster of obstacles, a fallen tree blocking the path, dense underbrush that would slow their progress. Without hesitation, she devised a route around the blockage, signaling left with a sharp hand gesture. The squad adjusted, moving with renewed purpose. The simulated ambush pressed on, bursts of gunfire echoing through the trees. Emily's quick decisions kept the squad one step ahead, her voice steady as she called out commands and reassurances. Finally, they reached the designated extraction zone, a small clearing marked by a weathered flag. The team huddled together, catching their breath, as the instructors observed silently from the perimeter. Sergeant Ramirez approached, his expression unreadable. "Carter, that was impressive. Your leadership saved us time and likely lives." The squad exchanged looks, the tension easing into something quieter: respect. Yet, even as the adrenaline faded, Emily felt the weight of what lay beneath. Her success hadn't gone unnoticed, but it had also sparked something else: jealousy and renewed attempts to undermine her. In the days following the exercise, whispers circulated. Some soldiers questioned whether her calm was luck, others speculated about favoritism from instructors. Private Mason, once hostile, now avoided her gaze, unsure how to reconcile his doubts with her actions. Emily knew the path forward would be fraught with these contradictions. To earn true respect, she would have to prove herself repeatedly, not just in moments of crisis, but in the everyday grind of training. Despite the undercurrents, Emily's confidence grew. The exercise had crystallized a truth she had long suspected: her strength wasn't just physical, but a steady inner resolve that refused to yield. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Emily found herself alone on the training field, the distant sounds of the base fading into silence. She pulled the small medal from beneath her uniform, tracing its edges thoughtfully. It was a quiet symbol of courage earned in a different arena, a covert mission that had tested her limits in ways few could imagine. That mission, its secrets locked away, was a wellspring of strength she drew from when the world around her seemed intent on breaking her. Her thoughts drifted to the men and women she trained alongside, their doubts, their grudges, their grudging respect. She understood their skepticism. She had been an outsider once, unsure of her place. But she also knew that true belonging came not from acceptance granted, but from battles won, both seen and unseen. As night settled over Fort Bragg, Emily stood tall, the weight of her past and the promise of her future intertwined. The field exercise had been a trial by fire, a crucible that forged her into a leader. But it was only the beginning. Tomorrow, and every day after, would demand the same unwavering strength. And Emily Carter was ready. The barracks were cloaked in the dim glow of late evening when the tension finally snapped. Emily Carter sat quietly at her locker, the muted sounds of footsteps and distant laughter filling the room. The day's training had been brutal, and though her body ached, her mind remained sharp. As she reached beneath her uniform, her fingers brushed against the small medal she kept hidden, a silent testament to a mission few knew of. Suddenly, the door slammed open, and Private Mason stormed in, his face flushed with anger. "What do you think you're doing, hiding that?" he demanded, eyes flashing as he stepped closer. Emily remained calm, her voice measured. "It's mine. It's not for show." Mason's sneer deepened. "You think that little medal means you're better than us? That you're some kind of hero. The room seemed to shrink as other soldiers turned to watch, whispers rippling through the ranks. Emily's heart pounded, but she refused to back down. Slowly, she unclipped the medal from beneath her uniform and held it out, its polished surface catching the light. "This medal was awarded to me for valor during a classified mission," she said, her voice steady despite the storm gathering around her. "A mission that saved lives. Not many know about it because it was secret. Not because I wanted to hide, but because that's how it had to be." The silence was immediate and profound. Eyes that had mocked and doubted now widened in surprise. Private Jenkins, usually quick with a sarcastic comment, stepped forward, his expression unreadable. "Why didn't you say anything before?" he asked quietly. Emily's gaze met his. "Because I wanted to earn my place based on who I am, not what I've done, or who my family is. But I'm done hiding." Marcus, a soldier who had been quietly observing all along, nodded slowly. "That's real courage," he said, voice low but firm. The atmosphere shifted, tension giving way to a cautious respect. The medal was more than a piece of metal, it was a symbol that challenged every assumption they had made about her. Commander Williams entered then, having overheard the commotion. His presence commanded immediate attention. He glanced at the medal, then at Emily, a flicker of recognition passing across his face. "Private Carter," he began, voice authoritative yet measured, "this medal represents not only your bravery, but the sacrifices made by those on classified missions nationwide. Your discretion until now has been commendable, but your courage in revealing it speaks volumes." He turned to the assembled soldiers. "Let this be a reminder that valor comes in many forms. It is earned through action, not gender or background. Private Carter has earned her place here, and I expect that to be respected." The room was silent, the weight of his words settling like a tide turning. Some soldiers shifted uncomfortably, others nodded in acknowledgement. The dynamic in the barracks had changed irrevocably. Emily felt a surge of relief, but also a new resolve. The revelation was not the end of her struggle, but the beginning of a fresh chapter, one where she would no longer carry her achievements in secret. In the days that followed, conversations grew more open. Soldiers who had once avoided her now sought her opinion. Invitations to join group activities arrived, cautious but genuine. The invisible barrier of doubt began to crumble. Yet Emily remained grounded. She knew that respect was earned daily through actions, not medals. She continued to train harder, lead with integrity, and support her fellow soldiers. One afternoon, during a tactical briefing, Sergeant Ramirez approached her quietly. "I am proud of you," he said simply. "You've shown what it means to be a leader." Emily nodded, the medal resting beneath her uniform no longer a secret, but a quiet emblem of the journey she had undertaken, a journey marked by resilience, honor, and the unwavering strength to stand tall when the world demanded otherwise. The morning sun filtered through the slatted blinds of the command tent, casting sharp lines of light across the polished floor. The unit gathered in formation, the hum of anticipation thick in the air. Today was unlike any other. Colonel Williams had announced he would address the soldiers personally, a rare event that drew a ripple of curiosity and unease. Private Emily Carter stood among her comrades, the medal once hidden beneath her uniform now proudly displayed on her chest. The shift in the barracks atmosphere was palpable, the lingering doubts and whispered rumors had faded into cautious respect. She felt the weight of many eyes upon her, some filled with admiration, others still wrestling with their preconceptions. Colonel Williams strode to the front, his presence commanding silence. His gaze swept over the assembled soldiers, landing briefly on Emily before he began. "Soldiers," he started, voice steady and resolute, "I have been made aware of Private Carter's commendation, a medal awarded for valor during a classified mission. Until now, this recognition was kept under wraps, but today, I want to acknowledge it publicly." A murmur spread through the ranks, a mixture of surprise and acknowledgement. The colonel's eyes sharpened as he continued. This medal is not just a symbol of bravery, but a testament to the sacrifices made by those who serve in the shadows, whose actions often go unseen by the world. Private Carter's courage reflects the highest standards we expect from every member of this unit. His tone shifted, firm and uncompromising. I am deeply disappointed to learn that some soldiers attempted to undermine her, questioning her place here based on prejudice rather than merit. Let me be clear, such behavior will not be tolerated. A few soldiers shifted uncomfortably under the weight of his words. Colonel Williams paused, letting the silence settle like a hammer blow. Respect and unity are essential to our mission. We operate as one, regardless of gender, rank, or background. Private Carter has earned her position through dedication, skill, and sacrifice. I expect each of you to treat her, and every soldier, with the respect they deserve. He turned to Emily, nodding solemnly. You have my support, Private. Continue to lead by example. As he stepped back, the squad's atmosphere had irrevocably changed. Soldiers who had once sneered now exchanged glances tinged with newfound respect. Invitations that had been withheld were extended openly. The barriers of skepticism were breaking down. Emily felt a surge of determination. The public acknowledgement from Colonel Williams was more than a personal victory. It was a shift in the culture that had surrounded her since arrival. Later that day, as the unit prepared for tactical drills, Sergeant Ramirez approached Emily quietly. He made it clear, Ramirez said, voice low. No more games. You've got a team now. Emily offered a small smile, the weight of isolation lifting. It's a start. Together, they moved toward the training grounds, the squad following with a sense of renewed purpose. The battles ahead would still be fierce, the challenges relentless, but the path had been cleared. Emily's medal gleamed in the sunlight, no longer hidden but a beacon, not just of her valor, but of the respect she had earned, and the respect she would continue to command. The early morning light filtered through the windows of the training facility, casting a soft glow on the rows of soldiers assembled for the day's briefing. Private Emily Carter stood among them, her medal gleaming on her chest, a silent reminder of the honor she now carried openly. The shift in the barracks had been palpable since Colonel Williams' public acknowledgement, but with recognition came new pressures. The weight of expectations settled heavily on Emily's shoulders. She was no longer just the soldier striving to prove herself, she was a symbol of resilience and capability. Every move she made, every decision in training, was scrutinized not only by her peers, but by herself. The legacy of that hidden mission and the secret medal intertwined with her identity, fueling her drive, but also casting a shadow of doubt. Her mornings began earlier, her workouts longer. She pushed herself beyond the limits she once thought attainable, running drills with an intensity that left her breathless and aching. The instructors noticed the change, Sergeant Ramirez among them. During physical training, he would offer curt nods of approval, words of encouragement that Emily clung to like lifelines. Yet, the pressure was not solely internal. Some soldiers approached her with tentative respect, their gazes lingering a moment too long, as if measuring her worth against an invisible standard. Others, still cautious, kept their distance, unsure how to reconcile the medal with the person they had known. Emily grappled with moments of self-doubt. Was she living up to the legacy the medal represented? Could she maintain the strength required not just to survive, but to lead? The echoes of whispered doubts from earlier days sometimes crept into her mind, threatening to unravel her focus. One afternoon, during a tactical leadership exercise, Emily was tasked with coordinating a squad through a complex simulated urban environment. The scenario demanded quick decision-making, clear communication, and the ability to adapt to rapidly changing circumstances. As the team moved through narrow corridors and around obstacles, Emily's commands were precise and confident. She directed her squad to cover blind spots, navigate choke points, and secure objectives efficiently. Her calm under pressure inspired her team, their trust in her growing with each successful maneuver. At one point, the simulation introduced an unexpected complication: a simulated improvised explosive device blocking their primary exit. Emily quickly assessed the situation, rerouting the squad through a secondary path while maintaining communication and ensuring everyone remained alert. The instructors observed closely, impressed by her leadership and composure. Sergeant Ramirez caught her eye, offering a subtle nod that spoke volumes. After the exercise, as the squad debriefed, Emily felt a quiet satisfaction. The respect she had earned was no longer tentative, it was earned through her actions, her decisions, her unwavering commitment. Back in the barracks, the atmosphere had softened. Conversations that once skirted around her now included her in genuine dialogue. Invitations to join training groups and social gatherings came with increasing frequency. The invisible walls of isolation were crumbling. Still, Emily remained grounded. She understood that respect was fragile and must be nurtured continuously. The medal on her chest was not a shield but a reminder, a symbol of the legacy she carried and the path she was forging. One evening, as the sun set behind the horizon, Emily sat quietly in the common room, reflecting on the journey so far. The struggles, the victories, the moments of doubt and triumph, they all wove together into the fabric of who she was becoming. Sergeant Ramirez joined her, settling into the seat beside her. "You're doing well," he said simply. "Not many can carry what you do and still lead like that." Emily smiled faintly. "It's not easy, but it's worth it." He nodded, his gaze steady. "Keep pushing. The mission ahead will demand everything." Emily's fingers brushed the metal at her collarbone, the cool metal grounding her in the moment. She was ready for whatever came next. With the legacy of her covert mission behind her and the respect of her peers growing, Emily Carter stepped forward, not just as a soldier proving her worth, but as a leader rising to meet the challenges ahead. The sterile briefing room at Fort Bragg was heavy with anticipation as Emily Carter took her seat among a select group of soldiers. The walls bore maps and digital screens flickering with data, coordinates, tactical plans, and classified intel that few were privileged to see. Today's meeting was different. It wasn't just another routine exercise or training update. Emily had been chosen for a deployment, one that tied directly to the conflict she had once helped resolve in silence. The mission, shrouded in secrecy, was codenamed Operation Silent Dagger. The details were sparse, but the stakes were high. Intelligence had uncovered renewed activity from a hostile faction responsible for destabilizing the region Emily's previous covert operation had sought to contain. The deployment would be clandestine, demanding precision, discretion, and unwavering resolve. Commander Williams stood at the front, his voice steady as he addressed the team. "This operation is critical. The enemy we face is elusive, well-armed, and determined to disrupt peace efforts. Your selection reflects your skills, experience, and ability to operate under pressure." Emily listened intently, the weight of responsibility settling over her like a second uniform, heavy but familiar. The classified mission she had carried in silence now resonated with new urgency. The past was no longer a shadow, but a driving force propelling her forward. As the briefing continued, Emily's thoughts flickered to the medal she wore, a symbol of courage earned in the shadows. The mission ahead would test her limits once again, demanding everything she had and more. After the session, Emily gathered her gear with a focused intensity. The barracks buzzed with a mix of excitement and apprehension among those selected. Some exchanged quiet words, others prepared silently, each soldier grappling with the gravity of what lay ahead. Sergeant Ramirez approached, his expression a mix of pride and caution. "You've earned this chance, Carter. But remember, the mission's success depends on the team. Trust each other." Emily nodded, the weight of his words grounding her. Trust was the currency of survival, forged in the crucible of shared danger. Over the following days, Emily immersed herself in preparation. Tactical drills sharpened her physical and mental acuity. She studied updated intelligence reports, familiarized herself with new equipment, and rehearsed communication protocols. Each detail was critical, failure was not an option. The unit assembled, a tight-knit group of seasoned soldiers and specialists. Bonds formed quickly, underpinned by mutual respect and the shared understanding that lives depended on their cohesion. Late one evening, as the camp settled into a tense quiet, Emily sat alone, reviewing mission parameters. The flickering light of a single lamp illuminated her face, revealing a mixture of determination and reflection. Her thoughts turned to the soldiers she had trained alongside, the struggles she had overcome, the isolation, the doubts, the hard-won respect. Now, she stood on the threshold of a new chapter, where those experiences would be put to the ultimate test. A soft knock interrupted her reverie. Lieutenant Harris stepped in, offering a nod of encouragement. "Ready for what's next?" Emily met his gaze, steady and resolute. "More than ever." As the operation loomed, Emily felt a renewed sense of purpose. The mission was more than a deployment, it was a continuation of a fight she had already begun, a fight for justice, stability, and the chance to protect those who could not protect themselves. With the support of her team and the strength forged through trials past, Emily Carter prepared to face the unknown, driven by a commitment that transcended fear and doubt. The road ahead was uncertain, but her resolve was unwavering. The sun had barely risen when the unit gathered in the training yard, the crisp morning air filled with the sharp sounds of boots striking the pavement and the steady cadence of commands. Private Emily Carter stood alongside Sergeant Ramirez and Lieutenant Harris, the core team preparing for the covert operation that loomed just days ahead. The mood was tense but purposeful, a blend of anticipation and the solemn understanding that their skills would soon be tested in unforgiving circumstances. The early hours were devoted to intensive drills designed to hone the specific skills essential for Operation Silent Dagger. Emily moved through the exercises with precision, her focus unwavering as she practiced rapid infiltration techniques, silent communications, and close-quarters combat maneuvers. Each movement was deliberate, refined by countless repetitions, the muscle memory of countless hours of training now serving as her greatest asset. Sergeant Ramirez barked orders with a practiced authority, his eyes scanning the team for any signs of hesitation or error. "Keep your breathing steady," he instructed during a simulated building clearance. "Trust your training, trust each other." Emily nodded, signaling to the others as they navigated the maze of obstacles with practiced efficiency. The bond between them was palpable, silent glances, and subtle gestures conveying trust and understanding beyond words. It was this camaraderie that Emily had come to value most, in the crucible of high-stakes missions. It was the lifeline that could mean the difference between success and failure. Lieutenant Harris gathered the group during a break, unfolding a detailed map of the target area. His voice was low but resolute as he outlined the mission parameters, entry points, extraction zones, potential threats, and contingency plans. Emily absorbed every detail, the weight of responsibility settling even deeper. "This operation demands absolute precision and discretion," Harris emphasized. "One mistake, and the entire mission could be compromised." Emily's gaze met Ramirez's, a silent affirmation passing between them. They had trained together long enough to know that trust was not given lightly, it was earned through shared hardship and unwavering reliability. As the sun climbed higher, the team shifted their focus to advanced communication drills. Using encrypted radios and hand signals, they practiced maintaining silent coordination in environments where noise could mean death. Emily excelled, her calm demeanor and quick reflexes making her a natural in high-pressure scenarios. Between exercises, Emily found moments to connect with her teammates, sharing brief words of encouragement and laughter that eased the tension. Marcus, once wary of her presence, now stood beside her as an equal, his respect evident in his steady gaze. "You've come a long way, Carter," he remarked during a quiet moment, the edge of a smile softening his features. She returned the smile, the camaraderie a balm to the memories of earlier isolation. Couldn't have done it without you all. The days blurred into a cycle of rigorous preparation, training sessions, strategy meetings, equipment checks, all underscored by the growing sense of unity within the team. Emily's role as a leader solidified, her confidence bolstered by the trust she had earned and the undeniable skills she possessed. One evening, as twilight cast long shadows across the base, Emily sat with Ramirez and Harris, reviewing their final plans under the flickering light of a tactical lamp. The air was thick with quiet determination. Ramirez's voice broke the silence. "This is it. When we move as one. No hesitation, no second-guessing." Emily nodded, tracing the route on the map. "We are ready." The bond forged through shared trials had transformed the group from a collection of individuals into a cohesive unit, ready to face the challenges ahead with unwavering resolve. As the night deepened, Emily felt a profound sense of purpose. The mission was more than a test of skill, it was a testament to the strength found in trust, discipline, and the will to protect. With the support of her teammates and the lessons of countless hours of preparation, Emily Carter stood poised on the brink of a critical operation. The road ahead was uncertain, fraught with danger, but she was no longer alone. Together, they would face whatever came next. The grand hall of Fort Bragg was alive with the crisp sound of marching boots and the measured cadence of military protocol. Rows of soldiers stood at attention, their uniforms immaculate, faces steady beneath the glow of chandeliers that cast a solemn light over the assembled crowd. At the center, beneath the raised platform where the general stood, Private Emily Carter awaited her moment, a moment she had fought for silently, through trials both visible and hidden. The general's voice rang clear through the hall as he began the ceremony. "Today, we honor the valor, dedication, and resilience of those who serve with unwavering commitment to our nation. Among them stands Private Emily Carter, whose journey embodies the spirit of perseverance and excellence." Emily's heart beat steady despite the weight of attention. The medal pinned to her chest gleamed, a symbol not simply of past deeds, but of the battles faced, the doubts overcome, and the respect earned. As the general saluted, the room echoed with the sharp clicks of rifles and the rustle of uniforms. Soldiers who had once doubted her now stood as witnesses to her recognition, their expressions a blend of respect and quiet admiration. The ceremony unfolded with precision, a testament to discipline and honor. Emily's gaze swept the room, landing briefly on familiar faces. Sergeant Ramirez, whose nod conveyed pride, Marcus, standing tall with unspoken support, and Lieutenant Harris, whose steady presence had been a pillar throughout her journey. In that moment, Emily was no longer the soldier marked by whispers and skepticism. She was a symbol, a beacon of quiet strength forged through hardship and resolve. As the ceremony concluded, the general approached, his voice low but sincere. "Private Carter, your service exemplifies the highest ideals of our armed forces. Continue to lead, to inspire, and to serve with the courage that has brought you this far." Emily's reply was measured, her voice carrying the weight of experience. "Thank you, sir. I will." Outside, the sun cast long shadows over the parade ground as soldiers dispersed, the day's formality giving way to the rhythms of military life. Emily stood apart for a moment, the medal heavy but comforting against her chest. The journey that had begun with doubt and isolation had transformed into one marked by honor and belonging. Yet, even as the accolades settled, Emily knew the path ahead remained demanding. With the support of her comrades and the strength drawn from every challenge faced, Private Emily Carter was ready to lead her unit into the next mission, one defined not just by duty, but by the resilience and quiet courage that had become her hallmark.